Archershack Shop Talk podcast. I'm Jeremy.
I'm TJ.
We're freshly back from the ATA show. This podcast is going to be a little different because we're pretty much just going to talk about products we've seen. We're going to leave out some stuff unintentionally. So in the comments, tell us what you read about or heard about. And on our next podcast, we'll try to get to them because we got a short list and I got some exhibitors I'm just going to look at and try to remember stuff. But there's no way we could remember everything we've seen. So we're going to hit some highlights. And then for next week, if y'all will comment, we'll try to get to some stuff. Because there's already people been texting me saying, did you look at this and did you look at that? Most of it I did. I just hadn't thought to mention. So thank you for listening. We just got back in our usual routine here at the shop. So it was fun. Check out our other videos. We did a nightly sort of a podcast from where we were staying, and then I did just a bunch of clips we had from walking around. I put them together and put that out, I think, Sunday night. So check all that stuff out. So we were talking about like big stuff that we seen, and as far as the most, attention to me, it seemed to be on a couple things. One was, of course, PSC.
Yeah, that was the big thing.
You got John Dudley, Pigman at PSC. Pigman they put a monster emblem in the cam on his bow, and then they put the knock-on emblem on the John Dudley bow, and they look sharp, and they actually do shoot good. That was what the most of the attention was on.
Yeah.
Then that Spy Point, they came out with a thing where if any camera has got an SD card, they came out with a little modem, so you can ultimately make any trail camera one that'll send the pictures to your cell phone, and it's relatively cheap per month. They got different plans you can choose from $5, I think, up to about $15, according to how many pictures you want to get a month, all the way up to unlimited. The modem, I didn't catch exactly how much it is.
I had to go back and look. I think old Ralph Cianciarulo was in there, but it's called the Cell Link. And the guy that was demonstrating it or whatnot, he said for like $69, you're going to be able to upgrade your trail cameras. And from what I understood, it was any trail cam that you have right now that takes an SD card. And it's a little unit, and it just mounts right above your camera. It's got a rubber. The cord comes down. It has a SD already attached to it, I think.
Yeah.
And you put it in your camera. You can close your door. It's rubber coated, so it's going to be, still going to be weather tight. I don't see it causing any issues, but I am really, really can't wait to get my hands on one to put on mine to see how it does. Another company, while we're on the trail cam thing, they've been out a while now, but I don't really think nobody knows about them, but they're called Spy High mounts. And
this is neat. You told me about this, and I missed it last year. I seen it this time. It'd be worth it.
They actually make, I know there's another company out there, but Spy High is the one I'm really interested in. It's, kind of like an extension pole, a collapsible pole, and you can actually mount your camera up to 14 feet in a tree. And it has a laser that what it is, it's a mount, and it's got a drill attachment, and you screw it into the tree. And I do know some states you can't screw anything into a tree, but they also got it'd be just like a regular mount where you strap it to the tree to use it, but you screw it into the tree, you take your camera, it sits, you mount it, and like I said, however high you want to go, it hooks in. It's got a little laser where you can level it to get your angle right. And I think with with the Cell Link, this is what I want to do, is I want to get a cell camera and do that. That way, be perfect for people, that you think might be trespassing or something like that. Who thinks to look up in a tree for a deer or a trail camera? I don't.
And there ain't nobody going to climb up there and be trying, you know what I mean?
No.
They ain't going to climb up a tree to get a freaking camera down. So
And then to take your camera down, you just attach the pole to it. It snaps and comes down. It leaves the mount up there. So if you do have to change out your SD card or batteries or anything like that, it's not like you got to drag a ladder with you or anything like that. You just stand on the ground. It's very simple, and they make a kit. I can't remember what the price on it was, but it come with the poles, the drill attachment, 2 camera mounts. And I mean, it is a slick system, and I've been on the fence a couple years now of getting one, but now with you being able to buy this cell link to make any camera a cellular camera, I'm just going to go ahead and bite the bullet and get me one, and I'm going to play with it, because like I said, that cell link is probably one of my favorite things from the show.
Yeah, a lot of talk about it. I think they'll sell so many of them things, it won't be funny.
And I think I heard them say that it's going to be, I got on their website to try to find out how much it was, but these are not going to be ready till April, is what their website says. So
I was about to say, I'm going to look real quick, because I didn't get any pricing information from them, and I don't know that they even had it ready yet. So let's see here. Yeah, that's not anything. It talks about it on the website, but no pricing information. We did a little podcast on some of the bows or whatever. So that was the last one we did. Just a quick overview of, we shot them all. Ultimately everybody has a good shooting bow, a little different feel to different ones, but they they all feel good. So nothing too crazy, about what you'd expect from each company this year. I mean, it wasn't. I didn't feel like anything was like completely way different or anything. Just sort of the same old thing. Broadheads. I'm trying to think. Did you see anything that was just crazy different?
Which we said this on the previous podcast, but Montec come out with a solid head on the new, what is it, the M3, I think it is.
Yeah, I think that got more attention than about anything else, broadhead wise.
I know Rage has went to a no collar design on their broadheads. They came out with a new one, and I can't remember what it was. It was a something extreme, I think, but don't hold me to it because I can't remember. I'd have to go back and look. One thing that I thought was kind of, not going to say strange looking, but was 30-06 has it's a longitude sight.
When we seen it, I said, look at this thing. That joker's about 1.5 feet long, it looks like.
And they didn't have one where we could actually play with it. It was in a package, and I'm like, man, I don't know about that. I mean, it was longer than a 10, 11, 12-inch stabilizer. I'm like, oh, man. But after doing a little bit of digging, it does come with a single pin head and a 3-pin head. And it's got a knob up on the front of it, and you undo it, and you can actually adjust the yardage up and down on the back.
Yeah.
That way, the reason they say is you can hook your release and reach up while your release is still hooked to the D-loop and be able to adjust your yardage without ever having to take your release off the D-loop, which I thought was pretty smart. It looked big, but after, seeing a little video clip on it and everything, I'm like, that's not a bad idea.
I think AAE had, they got some crossbow and traditional specific fletchings out, and I think those traditional ones are getting a lot of attention because usually traditional people shoot feathers, but, feathers tear up and you got to refletch a lot, and that's sort of the reason people like vanes, but they got like a wavy looking vane that was getting some attention.
And Bonin come out with the Griffin, I think it is. This is a traditional vane, and it was kind of, you just had to go check it out to see if you're a traditional shooter.
We ordered some more of the big shot targets. We had a lot of luck with those last year just because you can literally shoot them at point blank with a freaking crossbow and pull it out with 2 fingers. I mean, if you hadn't tried one, try one. It's worth it. But we got some of those on the way. Got some 3D targets. Kind of a funny story. The last thing we did before we left, was I ordered some 3D targets, but also had bought some of their display models from Big Shot or from R&W technically. And so here we go, trying to tote out all these 3D targets through the rain, probably what a half to 3/4 mile walk. It was a mess, pouring rain, but we got them out.
Yeah.
Athens, seems like maybe archery, they're gaining some momentum with their bows, which is good. I like to see small companies doing good. Atomic Rods has that gamma scan. We got one on the way. What it is, I think I've talked about it before, but it's a device you hook to Bluetooth on your phone, and it tracks the movement of the end of your stabilizer. So you can, change anything. You can change draw weight, you can change draw length, weights on the stabilizers, configuration, whatever. Shoot, say 10 shots, and then compare the movement to each what you did and say, all right, well, this draw length held better, this peep height worked better, this stabilizer weight. It could really get into one of those you spend all day tinkering with stuff things, but it's pretty neat. So we'll have that to play with here probably this week, I think they said. Excel True Ball. Excel came out with stabilizer bars. As expected, they look sharp. Mm-hmm. You've already got one of their mounts for your bow.
Yeah, I've got the front quick disconnect for mine. Do not have it on the bow yet. In the process of building some strings for it. So hopefully, in the next couple podcasts, we could, in which let's go ahead and throw a teaser out for them too while we're on the thing. In the next few weeks, we're going to start a feature product segment where we're going to take one product.
We figured like when we start the podcast, we'll just talk about, all right, this week we're going to talk about the new sick broadheads or the rocket broadheads or the Prime Black Series 3 or whatever. And we're just going to take 5-10 minutes and do a little overview of that product starting at the podcast. We've just been listening to what people's feedback's been and that y'all seem to like when we talk about products and stuff. Now, what we'll do is mount like an overhead camera so that if you're watching on YouTube, you can see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And, about 60 to 70% of our listeners are through YouTube. But of course, if you're just listening on, a podcast, we'll still describe it in enough detail to where you can kind of picture it type thing. But I think that is a good idea.
Yeah. And, that's like, I know we had a bunch of people asking when we first started carrying the Spot Hog, when they came out with a double pin last year, a lot of people wanted us to explain how it worked and everything. So this will be good for stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. The Last Chance came out that makes bow presses. They came, and they're just like an hour down the road, but they came out with some stabilizer mounts, and I really like them. You can actually adjust all angles. You can make it straight, down, 2 or 3 different degrees, left, right, all this stuff. Super adjustable. I may look into that just to play with.
And we got a aerosol.
Yeah, they got that cool aerosol that drips water so the dust don't come up. A little pricey, but it's neat. We ended up getting the Raven adapter, so we can now tinker with little micro crossbows. That'll be fun, something we hadn't done in the past. B3 was their booth was packed every day.
And the big thing is they released that B3 Ghost.
Yep. It's a white release, looks good, back tension style release. We keep some B3 releases in here, but we may overdo it this year because, they got a nice looking sight. They got all their releases look and feel good. Mm-hmm. They're good people. It's the kinfolk of the people that originally started Scott, so that's where they come from. They got a background in this stuff.
They had the firing line, if you don't know what the firing line is, it's a trainer where you can take releases and, play with your sensitivity on your triggers and everything. And I actually put that B3 in my hand, and I was kind of like, holy smoke. I thought it would be, a plastic or some sort, but it's actually an aluminum.
Like a powder coated or something.
And it's, powder coated, and that joker felt good. I was really impressed with it.
Bowfinger had some neat stuff. That scope that Bowfinger's got, it's a little big, but that thing's well thought out. You got all these different pin positions. You got a built-in way of checking third axis. It's got all filters and colors and all sorts of stuff you can do to it.
We did get to finally get a hold of the True Ball Go 2 release. We finally got to play with it.
It takes some getting used to.
It's a pinky or index finger, but it's a handheld.
Yeah, just with it on the index finger, it was hard to pull back without hitting the trigger. You'd have to get used to that. The pinky wasn't that bad, but I think Jeff Hopkins helped design it, and of course he knows what he's doing, and I'm sure he'll have great success with it, and a lot of other people will. It would take some takes some shooting though.
I know every time I'd go to try, they had it set up on the pinky, and so I asked them, I said, well, how hard is it to switch it from pinky to index? He said 10 seconds. And all it is pretty much you tighten the screw down, the set screw on the pinky, and loosen the index. So I did, and I hooked it up. And, if you use a handheld, you've always got pressure on your index finger drawing back. And as soon as I'd go to put it on the firing line, I'd hit that thing, and I couldn't even, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And so finally I ended up just having to tuck my finger behind it or just keep it off of it. But it would take some getting used to, but as far as a crisp trigger, it was good.
Black Eagle / Conquest stabilizers, they got a new quiver out. It's pretty slick.
Yeah, I do like that quiver.
The dang nose is running. They call it the Talon. Just the way it mounts, it's got a super heavy spring that just clamps down, and they had it on a riser, and they were like, just take it and sling it, it won't move, and sure enough, it didn't.
And they had arrows in it too. You couldn't make an arrow rattle out of it.
So we'll get some of them. I couldn't believe it. We had Last Chance and Black Eagle. Today is Tuesday. We just left Saturday. Their stuff came in today. I was like, good Lord. And Spot Hog shipped while we were still at the show, so something else. They own it.
Yep, they own it this year. So
Spot Hog, site-wise, has got the same stuff, but that Fast Eddie XL, everybody wants it with that double pin, so we got those on the way. They'll be here this week.
And Spot Hog come out with the only thing that they come out new this year, to my knowledge, was a release called the Tough Guy.
Yeah.
And, the Wise Guy was the single jaw or a hook style. Well, the Tough Guy is a single jaw, kind of like a Scott Little Goose.
Yeah.
So, actually got to tinker with it. It was a good feeling release too.
Glory Knock, we talked to them just about some issues with a lot of knocks in general we've had. They've redone some stuff, made the throat and the ears longer on their knock, and said they gave us this big spiel about cutting down on pinch and all this, but probably give them another go. I didn't know it till then, but they've acquired knockout lighted knocks.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that till we were there.
I don't know. I've had good luck with the Glory knocks, and they may not be the brightest, but they are the most easiest to turn off. If even if you knock it and you don't fire an arrow at an animal or a target, it's got a little button on the side of it. You push it in, pull it off, and it's off.
Yep.
So can't get too much easier than that.
We ordered some Black Widow scents as usual. They make a good scent. They got all kind of neat stuff. Like my favorite thing they make is these. I don't even know what they're made out of, but it's these little beads, and you can either buy them with nothing in them, and you literally just soak your own scent in them, and they swell up, and then over the course of weeks they slowly disperse scent. But if you put it in a scrape and the deer walks over it, it pops them, and then all that scent suddenly comes out. To me, and they got them pre-done, or you can put your own stuff in them. We keep them here. I just always thought that was a good idea, so made an order with them, of course. Already mentioned Last Chance.
And we were surprised that some of the vendors or some of the companies that wasn't at the show this year, we were kind of surprised by a couple of them.
You can tell the internet is having a big effect on archery. I mean,
yes.
it's the show size was down. Didn't feel like there was as many people there. I mean, granted, there's still, probably 8,000 people there, but just, looking over the past 6 or 7 years, I think it's just changing. You know what I mean?
Oh, I remember the first time I went, you'd walk down the aisle and you'd be looking, and like you'd come up on a booth. Let's say I like AAE Vanes. You'd walk by their booth and you couldn't even get to them.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to make another lap to come back. And we're not saying that AAE is going anywhere or nobody likes AAE, but the last couple of years, it was one of those you could walk straight up to them and start talking to them. Whereas in the past,
and I don't know if they changed it this year. That first day was buyers only, no media. So they're, that cut down on a lot of people because people bring, they have like bowhunting.com and all these big media, Bow Junkie and all them have their cameras set up, and it kind of blocks a bunch of stuff. I think that'll be overall a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I was talking to another dealer. I don't know that the first day is the best day for that because we typically spend a day or two gathering information and getting order forms and all that, and then we go sit down at night and talk about it and put the order together. That's kind of how most people operate, I think. But at least we could do a lot of intelligence gathering that first day without, too many people blocking the booth or whatever.
And we finally got to lay hands on the Vapor Trail,
the new Gen 7X,
7X,
or whatever. Yeah. Pretty neat. You can go upper or lower limb. I don't know if I caught a cootie at the show or what. My dang nose started running today.
Well, stay away from me.
But I'll be glad when this goes away. Raven's got the new R29X 450 feet per second crossbow. 10 Point's got a new one out as well to pretty much match it, and it's 470 feet per second. So crossbows, a lot of attention going to crossbows now that we used to not see.
Yeah, it's getting pretty much where for every bow company out there, there is a crossbow company, to match, which I've said this on many a podcast. I'm not against crossbows.
Yeah.
And if it gets, the kids out there involved early, or you've got people that can't, you got some people that can't physically draw a bow back regardless of age, it gets them out there in the woods, or it gets them shooting. So
yeah,
I'm not, like I said, I have nothing against crossbows.
It's just crazy seeing more and more and more people wanting them. It's just, like I say, internet's changing things. A lot of stuff's changing in archery right now. I don't know if it's good or bad. We'll see. But through my years of shooting 3D, I've seen it real big and I've seen it really dead. So it's hard to tell exactly where we're at right now. But we've had a lot of interest. We got a 3D tournament coming up here at the shop, and we've had a lot of interest in the past month. When y'all doing 3D shoot? So it's I feel like things like the Total Archery Challenge are gaining a lot of momentum where score don't really matter. It's more of a hike through the mountains and shoot long distance with your buddies. And I'm completely fine with that. It's just different from what we've seen before.
Another one I stopped at, I didn't get a chance. They were pretty busy, but Nose Jammer.
Yep.
They've got their own line of scent, or not scent, but cover scent, and they say it jams a deer's smelling, ability to smell. They had, I guess it's to compete with Conquest and the Evercalm, but they actually have a stick, it's in a deodorant style thing, but you actually go in and you can rub it on trees and it's supposed to jam their scent. It's not a, I know Conquest, they have different ones like a Common or it's just a straight out, it's their cover scent in stick form. Where you can go and slide it on, rub it on trees or whatnot. So I did pick up a couple samples to tinker with, so I'll be interested in that.
True Fire had a neat release out that we still are thinking on. I had to, if you watch that video where I just put a bunch of random clips together, TJ's pulling on it, and I got a video of it just to kind of show the action of it, but pretty much, I guess you'd semi-call it triggerless. The trigger don't expose itself until you start pulling into it. So there's a trigger on it, but until you get to your back wall and really start pulling into that spring and the trigger exposes, it's a back tension wrist strap, ultimately is what it is. The Through Fire, I think it was called.
Yeah,
I'd like to test one. I don't think I'd want to shoot one, but I'd like to have my bow and shoot it a little bit.
Reinhardt, they come out with some new targets.
They got the mini caribou.
The mini caribou, along with, the mini elk debuted last year.
I bet we'll see more and more. We'll ought to see a mini Sasquatch.
That would be awesome.
These little targets are getting popular. Trying to think.
Did Delta McKenzie come out? I know they released some for the ASA stuff, but
other than that, that's all I've seen.
Okay.
Trying to think. What have we missed?
Expedition was there.
Yeah, Expedition did good. I think they're an up-and-comer. They're gaining a lot of traction. And they came out with a crossbow. I don't think I mentioned that yet. They came out with 2 models of crossbows. They look sharp. We talked about Quivers. We talked about cases. I don't think I've seen anything revolutionary in the bow case world. Kind of the same old stuff. There's a million Broadhead companies there. They each got their own little quirks for the year, but nothing other than maybe those sick Broadheads we'd already seen, but they got some nice stuff out. And then, like you said, the G5 new Broadheads are pretty fancy. I'm really thinking about reaching out to some Broadhead companies and coming up with a test that we do YouTube videos on, and it'd be a combination of penetration, angled shots, and whether they, deflect or not type thing. Do they fly like field tips? Go through all that with every one that they send us. And I've been thinking about doing that for years, but I knew it would take a lot of effort. But I thought about, instead of doing one huge compilation of it, just reach out to a bunch of people, and as they send them in, do a video for each one. That way it ain't like we got to wait till we got 40 Broadheads sitting here. Just do one at a time. I've always been interested, shoot it into a steel drum. I really like, there's some guys on YouTube that took like some masonite board and made it to where they were about an inch apart, and then they'd shoot through it and see how many it would make it through. I thought that was a good penetration test, but we may get into that this summer.
And for anybody that has Alpen optics, like binoculars or anything like that, last year we had heard that they had went out of, was it last year or year before last?
I think it was last year. They I guess you'd say went out of business, but
no, he retired.
That's it.
He retired, and there's a company called Bresser that, from what I understood from the show, is that they were the ones making the Alpines to start with, and I guess they sold it, or that guy acquired it. Well, they pretty much bought it back. So I know your binoculars, the little holder.
I'm blown out of the water by their customer service, and they hadn't fixed them yet because I hadn't called them. But at the show, I was like, "Listen, I bought some Alpines from when it was original Alpine. My binocular clip made on the binocular broke." And they were like, "Not a problem. We'll fix it. Call us when we get back." And I was like, "Really?" So that's pretty good customer service. And the Alpines, I hadn't checked the price recently, but traditionally they're as good as big names, but they're about half the price. So I know mine, I've never had any trouble out of, other than I broke the thing. It was in my bag, probably hit something and broke off or whatever.
And then we talked about the Cold Steel, the little crossbow that they got. That little joker's fun to shoot.
It'd be a little squirrel crossbow / go out in the backyard and shoot against each other type of deal.
And we talked about it, but they actually come out with broadheads
made out of a polymer or a plastic, I guess you should say.
And them little jokers to be plastic is sharp.
Yeah.
I'm just scrolling through. Did Carter come out with anything new this year? I stopped at the booth.
They did. I don't remember the name of it, and Jackie bought one. I have not handled it yet, but he probably had it here today, and I forgot to ask him to look at it, but he bought one on the spot. I couldn't tell you the name of it. Maybe we can look at it next time on the podcast. But Carter's a good, solid company. I love their products. I always have. I've shot Carter's before. Good stuff.
I'm looking for the Innovation Zone. I went through there, and there was I'm looking for the little thing, that way I can remember the name of it, but it was a scent company. And the guy, he said, this smells like 500 pounds of corn in a spray bottle. and this is no joke. He opened that bottle up, and I took a whiff of it, and it smelled straight. I mean, like you just stuck your head in a corn bag or in a barrel. I mean, it was.
I like that little bow shooter device because it was cheap that they had. I don't remember who made it, but it was ultimately like a resistance band type of a thing that you could, like if you were at home and just sitting on the couch, you could shoot it, and it's cheaper than like the firing line like we got here, so you wouldn't have to spend as much money. But
didn't Mikey get one of those?
Yeah, he bought one.
All right, where is my innovation zone at?
The innovation zone. They take a section. Sometimes it's a different room type deal at the show, and it's for new companies. I think you can be in it for like 2 years. So if you're an up and coming company that don't want to fork out thousands for a regular booth, you get a booth in the innovation zone. But so you're not on the main floor, but at least you're getting some exposure. And sometimes it's stupid stuff, and sometimes it's pretty neat stuff. I mean, I've seen it both ways, but it's neat because sometimes you'll see somebody in Innovation Zone one year, and then like the next year they got a big boy booth with a lot of orders coming in. So again, you like to see archery people do good. The B3 impressed me though. I know we already talked about it, but those releases are going to do good. And our cottonwood shooter seat people, the spider shot seat, they didn't come to the show this year. They're down in Georgia. We're going to get some of those ordered. But Elevation, that they make cases and quivers and all that, they got a seat out. It actually came out last year. We looked at it. It's pretty spiffy.
Lockdown Outdoors was the name of that. And they had a bunch of scents, or cover scents, I should say, but like I said, he said, "Here, smell this. This ain't nothing but 500 pounds of corn or something like that. That's what it smells like." And it was a good corny smelling.
A little corny. Off the top of my head, I can't think of nothing else to talk about. But like I say, y'all comment and
yeah, because I know we missed out.
Well, there's big stuff that we seen. We're just sitting here randomly talking about it. So comment if you want us to talk about something. Our next podcast next week will be back to the normal format of we already got some questions and that type of thing. We'll probably do our little product review thing, or not really a review, but just a quick little talk about it and see how that goes. And thank y'all for watching. We put out those videos while we're at the ATA, got a lot of views. I imagine people were just searching for ATA information. And I know one or two of them was pretty boring because it was just kind of us sitting in a house talking, but we're just trying to get a little information out there, and usually while we're there, we get a lot of texts. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? That just kind of solved that problem real quick. Yeah. Being able to talk about it on there and be like, here, listen to this.
Yep. So,
but
we got a bunch of information, pamphlets, stuff like that. We just hadn't had a chance to sit down and,
like I say, we already got inventory rolling in. I can't believe it started coming in this quick.
There is one thing too, and I don't think a lot of people caught it, but Victory 2 years ago come out with the Extortionaire, and they come out with it. It's a carbon with a steel mesh woven into the shaft.
Yeah.
So they come out with that to compete, with a Full Metal Jacket. They came out with, it was one of the VAP series, and it's called the VAP SS, and it's the same technology that's in that Extortionaire. It's a smaller diameter shaft, but it has that steel mesh woven into it. So
that'll be neat. We got a little bit of Victory stuff coming to play with. There's a bunch of random stuff coming, that'll be neat, and it'll be here in the next few weeks, hopefully. But good times. Had a good time. It was fun. We got to see all this stuff and go eat at some nice restaurants and cheeseburgers and everything else. There's a couple places we like to eat at, and had a good time. So
it rained on us, but other than that,
it rained, but it didn't snow like normal. So,
and it was warm too. What was it, 61 up there? Or something?
Yeah, I ain't never seen it like that before ever. So that'll be good. But anyway, thank y'all for listening.
Yep,
we'll get you another one out with some questions and stuff this next week, and check out our other ATA videos if you hadn't already. subscribe, click the notification bell. We're getting closer to 1,000 subscribers so we can go live on our cell phone device, which will make it easy for us. And we'll see you next time.
Y'all have a good one.
See y'all.